Well, welcome back. If you came back, if you came back, you're listening to this. So welcome back to day 5 of my bathroom renovation that I am almost complete with my prep. The prep is the most important part, and it is the longest part, even if I didn't have to do the demo and all that stuff, which doesn't take a lot of time. Going forward, the prep always takes the longest to make sure that it's done on point for the tiling process, which will begin in a couple days. I am at the blue pill again. I got to return this valve, and I got a couple other stops to make before I get to my job. So this is my go-to spot. This is usually where I recommend people buy their tile from here in Metro Atlanta. Floor & Decor started out about the same time I did here in Atlanta about 20 years ago. They have increasingly gotten huge. There's stores in, it seems like, every county here, and they've expanded out. They started in Florida, and now their corporate is here in Metro Atlanta. And I understand they have stores in Colorado and California and other places now, so they've gotten quite large. This used to be, most of them are grocery stores. This used to be a grocery store, so you can imagine how large this is. There's another one a little north of here that used to be a Circuit City. That place you need roller skates in to look at all their selection. So there's certain things here that I have to get, and I will show you that even though my customer already bought their tile from here, there's still certain specific things that I have to get from here. One of the reasons I like Floor & Decor so much is they have such a huge, ginormous selection of all of these trim pieces for just about any tile application that you're going to have. And what I'm looking for, they call it OG sometimes, but I call it chair rail, and that's what I'm looking at. So that is going to frame out the niche, and it's also going to be on the left and the right side of the shower. So I need 16 plus the 10 for the niche. So I'm going to get about 28 just to be on the safe side, a couple of extra in case they break. Aisles and aisles of tiles. That's what they have here. What I'm looking for, this is a contiguous curb top that I'm telling you about. It's actually not 5 inches. As I said, it's 6 inches. This one is really, really long. This is 6 foot long. Unfortunately, I need 7 foot. So rather than having 2 and cutting them in half, I'm going to have to do something different. But obviously, no grout lines on top of the curb is what I always prefer. And there are only 2 of them. There's this one and then the natural stone travertine looking one. If you have any other color of tile, it won't work. So I am out of there after stopping at Lowe's, Floor & Decor, and then Home Depot. I finally have what I need for the day, and I am headed on. I have probably the same time I had yesterday, maybe 4 hours of stuff I can do. A lot of what I do going forward is dry time, including the tile process. So I always do as much as I can in a day, but I'm always hindered by that which I'm doing. All right, I am finally back after yesterday having mudded all these walls. Little thing I didn't tell you yesterday, when you're doing the mudding on the curb or on the niche or anywhere else, a little excess mud comes up. You'll be chasing that all day. You'll be smoothing this out, and then this little edge will stick down there, and then you'll smooth that out, and don't chase your tail. Just let it be where it's at. It's easy to scrape off the next day. Do a little cleanup on all of the edge, and if you missed any mud, like I missed a little bit here, it's not a big deal that you catch every little thing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, like I'm going to be doing this anyway, so I want to get it as good as possible. So I'm going to scrape that off and put some excess mud where I need it if I missed any places. Up on the walls, you get a straight edge, in this case a level. And where I put excess mud at yesterday, you make sure that you're flat up against the wall all the way down. So if you have a little discrepancy like you have there, you can mud that in. You're going to notice, because there's an indentation where the 2 pieces of green board come together, it's not quite enough. So I'll go ahead and put that in today. Whoops. But more to the point, where the areas are, where the thicker mud is at, like here, you just make sure that everything's straight going all the way down. Same as over here, where this thickness is now flat. So the first run I got right, which you know I normally do. Now in this corner you'll see the pencil marks. So I pencil marked all the way over the top here because there's the depression right there, and you'll see it. So where the pencil marks are, it starts to taper up at the top, and then there's a pretty wide gap, about a 1/4 inch in the middle, and then it tapers down toward the end of my pencil mark. So I'll throw in some mud up there also. On this side, it's pretty flat. And this side is pretty flat. So I'm not worried about these sides, even on this end here. Maybe there's a little discrepancy off to the side. And then I do kind of at an angle too. Now you can see where I'm pretty flat here at an angle or flat. Anyway, before we start RedGarding, follow up on all those little areas. My back area is fine. I got a little mud to put up there. I have a little mud to, where was it, over here? And a little bit on this indentation back here where the grain board comes together. And then on the bottom end here, I don't have anything more to do except get up a little residual around the edges. Another thing too, before you start, and I'm going to do this in 2 parts, this shower pan has dried now with a fan on it, basically 24/7 for the last 2 days. I want to give it a 3rd day to dry, and which means basically all day today and then into tomorrow. So I probably will not RedGard the pan. I will run the AC as cold as you can stand it. I'm not going to say that's a definitive thing. You know, like I'm not suggesting that you put it on 50 degrees, but run it at a colder temperature than normal. That will evaporate a lot of the water, plus the fan will circulate and evaporate water. There's probably not a whole lot of content in it now, 2 days later, but I don't know. And so because I don't know, I want as much to evaporate as possible. Then the other thing is you're going to go through here with the shop vac. I'm going to sweep it first, and then I'm going to shop vac, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All the way. It's going to take a while, but I want all the dust particles to come out of there before I put my RedGard on. I want my RedGard to saturate into this mortar, and you can't do that with dust. So you're going to get up all this dust and excess little globs of thin set and stuff like that. So that's it. Oh, there's another one here. Another little depression. So all these little things I'll fill in. I'll take care of that, and then I will start RedGarding. The process of the RedGarding is very, very boring. I'll put a coat on this entire wall, left, right, and center, and into the niche and all that stuff, and then I gotta wait 30-40 minutes or so with a fan on it, and then wait again. While I'm waiting, I will be doing all this other stuff which I've done already before I got started. I patched in these couple of areas where the drains are at, and I patched in down there. So I will run tape along here and mud all that stuff in, and then I'll jump over here. So I can kill off some of that time that I have, the excess time that I have today. It won't take me long, probably 30 minutes to do that, and then I'll jump back over here, put a second coat on, do some other stuff if I can find something to do, and then jump back a 3rd time. So as I said earlier, I'll still be here about 4 hours today, but it won't be 4 hours of constant working. A lot of this is just killing time, and so I'm going to get started. I thought he was dead. Buddy. Sorry about that slight interruption. I saw that little guy yesterday bouncing on that window and I couldn't catch him. And then I saw him today and I'm like, wow, is he still here? So I had to let him go. I've got a ceiling fan, or a ceiling fan, I've got a box fan running. I'm trying to get my walls dry enough so that I can RedGard. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and tape and mud this. This is my own way of doing it. Everybody has their way. And I prefer paper tape over fiberglass tape because I'm old school. And that's the way I learned. And I just like it better. So the trick to getting this done well is not adding a lot of mud. In the very beginning you do, but at the end you don't. So in the beginning you add a lot because you're getting in between the crack. But then you're getting all the excess mud off, pushing it out of the tape as much as you can. In an ideal world, you would fill in that larger crack first, let that dry, get that smooth, and then do this part. That's all there is to it right now. The mistake some people make is they get in a hurry and they want to feather out their mud right away on the first pass, and that's not what you do. First pass, all it is tape to take off excess mud, and that dries overnight. Then you come back tomorrow and do your tapering with your mud. Normally, that's all it takes for me. Sometimes it might take 2 or 3 passes of feathering for some people, I guess. But what I find ends up happening is that you're sanding off almost more mud than you're putting on. Kind of chasing your tail and defeating the purpose. But again, everybody's got their own way. The tape has a natural fold in it, and the natural fold goes on the inside of the crack. Sorry, but if I'm boring you, my apologies. There's not much I can show today. As I said before, this is RedGard day, and except for my mud drying on the walls right now so I can get started with RedGard, you're going to be basically watching me paint, which is what RedGard ultimately is just you're painting stuff on. And that's boring too. That's like watching grass grow to me. So I'm trying to give you content, I'm trying to show you all the little processes so that if there is one process in here out of all of them that you're not aware of or you need to know, that at least you haven't wasted your time watching my video. And if you don't like what you see, then you can just go away and move on with your day to something more productive, I suppose. This is a reason why you want to fill in that crack and smooth it out the day before. What happens is the mud wants to push through into your tape. So, as a rule, I like to push the mud into that crack first, and then the next day, when that's dry, or even if I can get it dry the same day, then I go ahead and put my tape on. But I'm just pushing it down, and that'll work too. So, as I said, the key to this process is not applying too much mud the day day one, which is what I used to do a lot back in the day when I first started doing sheetrock, which is a long time, way before I ever did tile. I made that mistake too. I would put on all my mud right over my tape, and the next day I would have all this mud I would have to contend with, and then sand it off, and inevitably I would start sanding into my tape and muck things up even worse. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this. I'm just going to patch that, work on this for about another 15-20 minutes, getting that patched in, and by then hopefully my walls are dry and I can start RedGarding. So everything is dry now. It's been a few hours and I am ready to apply the RedGard. So RedGard, in case you all didn't know, all you guys didn't know, all y'alls, waterproofing and crack prevention membrane. This is the reason I was talking about the tape, that I feel like tape is redundant. It doesn't hurt to put tape in the corners. My contention is it doesn't help, since this is better crack prevention than anything you could possibly have. Whoops, look at that. I had the top open. I just made a mess. Anyway, I'm going to stir this up and get started. Another thing also is that in regard to what I said, I think it was yesterday's video? I'm getting confused now. Anyway, my contention is I don't believe that RedGard is needed. I believe I could put up tile directly on this wall, and because it's a vertical surface where water has a tendency of drying off a lot quicker, that no damage would ever occur. I have taken out showers where the only damage I see is probably about a foot, 14 inches up at the top, and that's because they stick the wallboard inside the shower pan. We're not doing that now. We're sticking the wallboard actually above it, so there's no contact being made. Therefore, the walls don't really need waterproofing. That's my firm belief, after having taken out hundreds of showers and seen damages and lack thereof. The waterproofing is needed for the floor. This is your Achilles heel. From everything from about that point on down and out here, that's your Achilles heel. When I tear apart showers, there's damage in the curb, there's damage usually right outside of the curb on the floor here. There's damage to sometimes even the pan. I think a video I posted a few months ago had the pan cracked because so much water had saturated it, just got weak and cracked. So there's usually damage to the wallboard, as I said, when they do that type of method. But all your damage is located and centralized in this area. I just don't see damage in showers to the point where I think this is really needed. This is something I did, or that I do, because as I said before already, it is cheap. It's $50 for one of these gallons. It's relatively easy to put on. The only issues with it is the wait time. So I have to wait for this to turn dark red, and with a fan on it, it'll take roughly 30-40 minutes or so. So I got to twiddle my thumbs for a while and then put a second coat on, and then a third coat in all the corners and the curb and everything. The other thing too, getting masks. If you're in an encapsulated area, which most bathrooms are now, most bathrooms don't have working windows. If you do have a working window, open it up and put a box fan in it so it'll get all the toxic fumes out. Your little paper mask that you get at Home Depot is not going to work for you. This stuff gets really nauseous. I mean, it just makes you nauseous. It permeates the whole area, and you can't get rid of the smell for a while, especially when you're in here painting it on. So one of these masks with the paper filters inside here, I don't smell a thing until I take off the mask. So I suggest one of these highly. This is my RedGard pan, as you see, many times. Many times. In fact, I think a couple of years ago I'd actually peeled off a whole bunch of this. Just it was this thick from years and years of using it over and over. You're going to need a very thin roller. Don't get a thick one, otherwise all your RedGard will get absorbed in there. It'll be a waste. You're going to need a brush. I got a brand new one. My old one is here, but it's getting raggedy and a little stiff. Stir stick for your RedGard, and that's about it. I generally don't show the process. I might show a little bit of it because I just had a comment today where somebody said that they enjoy working videos. Oh, I also patched this floor while I was waiting around. The thin set that I put in the crack is not really necessary. I did it only because I was bored and I had time to do it.
Start with inhale, exhale. Inhale deeply, rise onto your toes, and stretch arms high. Exhale, lower the heels, circle arms out and down. Again, inhale and stretch high.
Okay, the process of painting all of this on one coat is already done. It's really noxious. I'm breathing it right now because I took my mask off, so I need to get out of here, but it's pink-ish. You know, a lot of it's red already, but it's going to be a bright red when it's done, when it's all dried and everything. I usually paint out 4 to 6, maybe 8 inches outside of the curb. This is where I see the damage on the floor, typically. The curb, of course, gets painted, the inside as well as up under, which is really easy to do with a brush. Up under the wallboard gets painted, as well as all the way into the crease of where the shower pan liner is at, to create a monolithic type of atmosphere for waterproofing everything. As you can see, the gap inside here is also painted. So the whole thing, what is that? Oh. The whole thing is waterproofed without any tile. Now, having said that, I still am not a firm believer that the walls really need it. As I said, it's an insurance policy, it's a feel-good type of thing, but as far as, you know, people say that, you know, tile is porous and water will still go through tile and it could ruin your walls and all that stuff. Which is true. It could cause mold and mildew behind your walls eventually if water does get back there, but it's just so rare, honestly. You know, the big push now is to do Kurdish Schluter and the foam wallboard instead of this, and yada yada yada. I don't know where all this fear mongering comes from. It's just craziness that I don't understand. You have to have a problem for the solution to exist, and I've yet to see the problem in my experience, and other tilers aren't putting their tear outs and showing this is what can happen if Only I am, apparently. So, as I said, the shower pan is set up for 2 days with a fan on it 24/7 and air conditioner running at a low temperature. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to have some way of water to evaporate. So I will paint that tomorrow with a couple of coats. I'm still going to do the perimeter again. I'm still going to do around the drain again, but I'm going to do the whole thing after more moisture evaporates in the next 24 hours. Anyway, I'm going to do round 2 and then round 3 on all the corners and the curb and everything. I'm not going to show that because it's boring, and that's it. That's I've been here, let's see, 4.5, almost 5 hours just taking care of all this, but it's ready for tile. Tomorrow will be the beginning phase. I'll do the niche area and I'll do the floor area. Those two will have to set overnight, and then I'll grout on Sunday and start running the tile up the wall. So that's all for day 5. I hope you learned something. I hope it wasn't too boring for you, and look forward to tomorrow's video.